Blog Talk Radio.
To the Dave the Mystic Show. This is episode number 282 with Dave the Mystic and guest intuitives Ann Salisbury and Greg Meyerhoff. This is July 18th, 2016 from Littleton, Colorado. Dr. Ann Salisbury and Greg Meyerhoff of GoIntuition.com give psychic readings and hypnotherapy sessions by phone to improve your relationships and work and to communicate with your pets and loved ones on the other side. This evening we will be talking with them about what's happening on planet and on the other side because they just came out with their newest book, Journey to Heaven, An Insider's Guide to the Afterlife. So welcome, Ann and Greg. Thanks for being on again.
Thank you, Dave. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great, Dave. Thanks.
I just have to give you kudos on the book. We'll talk about it some more, but that's great information, and it's a fun read. So we'll start out with, since you haven't been on for a while, please refresh us on your spiritual gifts. How do you work together? How do you do things? What do you do?
Well, I was born intuitive or psychic, so I've been channeling what I call all that is since I can remember, and that's basically a conversation I have in my head with spiritual beings whose purpose it is to assist us in our spiritual growth in development and bring about more love in our hearts so that we can evolve. And I also see clairvoyantly, talk to people who have passed, talk to animals, talk to rocks, and and people. And Greg, you want to explain what you do?
Well, I have a gift of seeing energy. Mostly I work with people and pets and that kind of thing, or people who have passed. And I can see their energy and see where blocks are. So I work with them and their higher self and their guides to remove those blocks to get the energy flowing again, because we have a tendency to kind of get clogged up. And so getting the energy flowing again, just like getting some exercise in the physical body, is important. And so I'm able to see that and work with the people on that. And Ann and I either work together, and I'll see energy, and then she'll explain what it is, or we work separately with our own clients. So we do that both ways.
And we mostly work by phone with people everywhere, and we also work with companies who want to clear the old energy out and bring in some new, fresh energy to increase business. We also work with real estate to help a house sell, because if you want it to sell and you're holding on to it, or if there's been a divorce or just some issues there, it's always good to clean it out to sell it, or when you buy it, to clean it out before you move in. So basically, we just enjoy helping people have better lives through seeing what's there, because a lot of things are just not seen, but they equally affect your life, if not more than the things you see. Actually, I would say a lot more than the things you see. It's like looking at an iceberg. So we look at the part below the water and help shift the energy there and make things better.
Well, I've got to ask the obvious question. Greg, when you say you see energy, and yet you do most of your work on the phone, you see this energy remotely around the person?
Yeah, it's not unlike if somebody was sitting in front of me physically and I closed my eyes to check in on their energy. I'm seeing their energies with my eyes closed. So it's not unlike me being on the phone with my eyes closed and just tuning into the person. Everybody has a unique energy, kind of like each snowflake is different. And so we just tune into the person's name. Usually we have them say it 3 times. And that then energetically connects with that person, and then we just see them just as if they were sitting in front of us. So, yeah, I see it remotely, and then work with them that way.
Okay. Great. Sometimes I have to help people understand all of my energy and entity clearing work I do remotely, and people look kind of surprised, and I say, I clear houses and people all over the world, and distance just doesn't really matter in this stuff. It's not like a radio signal that gets weaker the farther you are away. You can really home in on this stuff. So thank you for clarifying that.
And also, as you know, on an energy level, there's no such thing as time and space. So you can see dramatically into the past or the future, depending upon what you're looking for. If you're looking for a direction someone's going, that's how you see a probable reality if they stay on the same path. Or if you're looking into the past lives can be just as vivid as the current life. So that's just how it works, and it's fascinating that way.
Great. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about something, because it really seems to be getting gray, and maybe we're just going to have to let it stay gray, on explaining to people the differences between clairvoyance and clairaudience versus mediumship versus channeling. And when you throw in the extra descriptor of trance, whether you say trance channeling or trance mediumship, then we get another variation in there, whether or not the intuitive is still present enough to discuss the results afterwards, or whether they go somewhere else. It really looks like we have different words, and lately, with how people are manifesting these gifts, we're seeing a lot of overlap among the terms.
Well, the main difference, I'd say, is between a conscious channel and a trance channel. So you can define that pretty easily. In a conscious channel, you stay present and you communicate with another being. Some people bring that other being in and have it cohabitate with them and express it, right? When a trance channel communicates, they basically take their consciousness and step aside. So they are, of course, operating their body still, but their main consciousness has stepped aside, so then they don't know what has been said because they've been outside of their vehicle, outside of their body.
Okay.
And I'm a conscious channel, and I use the word channel because that's what everybody understands. But my experience of it is that I just have to get my ego out of the way. And I remember practicing this when I was an art student, when I was very young, and then all through college as an art student. I knew that if my mind, my analytical mind, was chatting away, there's no way I would come up with good art. But if I could step aside and if I could bring through what felt like light into my body, then I knew exactly what to draw. There was absolutely no question. It just came through me. So that's what I mean by channeling. It's more of an experience of bringing through light. That's why I call it all that is, or that's why it's always called itself that to me, because I feel like I'm bringing through a group consciousness of energy rather than another being. So some people bring through a specific being, and they step aside for that. I basically make space, in my experience, of moving my analytical mind aside and having my intuition just basically flood through me as light so that I'm more connected to Source. So that defines channeling. Mediumship is when people talk to people who have passed. So for me, it's a very telepathic experience. It's like having a conversation in my head. It's very easy. I don't have the dead person take my body over, though some people do, and that works for them. And as for clairvoyance, that's when you see. Clairaudience is when you hear. And to me, it all goes together like telepathy. You hear it, you see it, you smell it, you feel it, and it's just an ongoing, it just unfolds. That's how I experience it, but everybody has a different flavor.
Okay. Well, the thing I've noticed over the past several years, because I've gone to some of the big demonstrations of gallery readings from people like John Edwards or James Van Praagh, is it would be hard for me to say what is the difference between what they're doing and calling it mediumship, as they say, well, I have a line of people here, and they have information they want to bring through. I'm going to bring through the first one, and he's talking about somebody named Rob who died when he was 62, always wore plaid shirts, and then, who claims that? And I'm trying to see the difference between that of just saying, well, I'm clairvoyant and clairaudient, and I'm seeing this guy in the line with the plaid shirt, and I'm bringing through his information that he's revealing to me. So I don't know if other people have that question too. I have such an engineering background. I'm so analytical on this stuff, but it's that type of thing on what is the difference between somebody doing a gallery reading, bringing through that way, and what you would just call clairvoyance and clairaudience.
I would say that the mediumship, when you're talking about mediumship, it's more of an experience of the person is like now talking through you versus you translating what they say. It's a different feel because I do both, and if it takes you over a little bit, that's more the mediumship, I'd say.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm sounding out different people on this because we're getting away from definitions that came out early or late 1800s, early 1900s, and obviously, it's fine to go into a modernization because the way we develop our gifts today is significantly different than how it was done in the 1920s and 30s. So I'm just trying to look at this because so many people are showing up with these gifts now, and I'm having to help them identify those gifts, set boundaries to those gifts, and to use those gifts and not feel like they're being socially isolated or picked on because they're weird or strange, especially young people. So,
and it could be that, if you look at John Edwards or Van Praagh, you can notice they start out hearing, and then they start seeing some things, and then they might start having them talk through them. Or they might be more telepathic. And it can vary on a different day, too, as to, once you get your channels open, you can flip back and forth, too.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that helps. Thank you.
Good.
Not that we've solved the problems of the world, but information helps.
Part of it. Yeah.
Well, you guys are a great example of two people with complementary gifts getting together. So how did you find each other and come up with this fit?
Well, we met at a retreat, a meditation retreat. And it was meant to be. There was a lot of synchronicities involved in getting there and making decision to get there. And then the first day we met each other, and shortly after that I had moved from Seattle to Denver, and we got married 6 months later. So it was meant to be, and through some of our conversations with Ann's group of beings and others, they've confirmed that we were supposed to get together to work in the latter part of our years now. So it was a meant-to-be thing, and we're doing our best to bring light to the world and helping with now our Journey to Heaven book and helping people cross to the other side. So it was something that we planned beforehand, and here we are.
And Greg was married before. His first wife died 7 years before we met. So he had been through an experience of, having a loved one pass over when he was in his 30s, and he was able to talk to her. And so he had, you could say, developed emotionally a lot because of that. Mm-hmm. And I had not married, and so when we met when I was 42, I knew what I was looking for. And so it was, we knew we wanted to do our work. And so that's how we're able to support each other, because we both had our spiritual life as our primary goal. And so it was it was a good fit.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. We're going to be talking about your book in a moment, but after we talk about the book and a few other things, then we will have the opportunity to have you bring through all that is, correct?
Sure. That's fine. And these days, it's more of a blend also. So the conversation can flow into what I'm seeing clairvoyantly to talking to all that is, translating from them, or channeling more traditionally. So however it works out is fine. We just want to bring through the information in answer to your questions.
Okay. Great. Okay. So let's talk about your new book. This is a wonderful book. I strongly recommend it to all the listeners, and we'll have information on how to get it. It's called Journey to Heaven, an Insider's Guide to the Afterlife, which is an intriguing title. So how did this come about? How did you decide to do this book?
Well, we had written 2 books before. We'd written Eureka, Understanding and Using the Power of Your Intuition, and then The Path of Intuition, your guidebook to life's journey. And when we had written those, my mother, Fissy, had been a wonderful editor on those. We later had professional editors help us, but she was the primary help. So when she became more sick, we moved her in with us, and for the last 3 years she lived with us. And she absolutely loved the psychic work. She'd always been involved in that since I was in late high school, and since we started questioning things. And so when she got close to passing, she didn't want to die, and so we made an agreement that she would, when she got to the other side and after she'd acclimated there, she would report back to us on what she found. And in that way, she would continue to help us with books and writing books and getting good information out there. So that's why it's an insider's guide. We interviewed her and got her opinions as to what's going on over there. And then we also asked the higher wisdom of all that is to give their perspective. And we combined those in a story format that takes you from the transition, the decision to transition, all the way through to the other side to seeing what it's like over there. And it was absolutely fascinating research project, you could say, for us. And it's been fun for Fissy on the other side, too. So it's really good.
Oh, good. So I have to ask the obvious question, because we have so many concepts that we've gotten from other sources, and the Weiss books, the Newton books, and all those, Life Between Lives. So what are some of the surprises that you received in gathering the information from Fissy? What came through and you said, I never would have thought of that?
Well, it's interesting to have the opportunity to be with somebody who crosses over. So this is the second opportunity, and to approach it from the standpoint of our own psychic abilities, having all that is explain things that are happening, and then actually going through the physical, emotional, mental experience with somebody passing away gives an overview that's really incredible. And I had a lot of that experience with my first wife, but didn't have some of the understanding of what was happening. And so there were a lot of little things that came up, and we have a list of them, but that was the big thing, and how important it is to be there and support the person and go through that experience. But as that's happening, there's a lot of little things that we don't know that are happening. So one of those things that came up is that, and I know, Dave, you read the book, but an interesting concept we call Gremlins. And these are little kind of elemental beings that are around, and they kind of started showing up, and it was really kind of shocking. It was these little beings that, were very short, like a foot tall, and they're running around. It looked like burlap outfits. And they come in, and when somebody asks for help, and they don't define that they want positive help or light help, there's also dark help that's available. So you have to know what you're asking for, and this is really important. And they'll come in and they'll assist you in different times in your life, and sometimes they just hang around because you never said, oh, I want to get rid of that. So that was one of the interesting things, was what we call gremlins, and they can have a tendency to take over our personalities a little bit. So we were noticing that the gremlins were coming forward with Fissy, and then through a lot of effort and her own cleansing, by the time she went to the other side, the gremlins had left, and she had released that negativity. So I would say that was an interesting story, and something that everybody should know about. If they believe in angels and fairies, you got to realize that there is also the dark side of that, or the heavier side, which is beings that are a little heavier and cause a little bit of mischief.
But you can learn how to deal with them, and that's what's important. And the other surprising thing we found is how important it is to prepare on this side for your transition over there. In other words, there are things you can do while you're alive to make living in what we call heaven to be a whole lot more enjoyable. So, you know, if you're kind of spacey in this life, you're most likely going to be kind of spacey when you get over there. So if you want to have more clarity, if you want to experience things and have more fun, then we write at the back of the book some exercises that you can do to call back your energy and be more present in this life, so that when you get over there, you can choose more exciting activities.
And Fissy even made a comment to us when she got to the other side, and here I'll read this. I don't wonder now why I died. I realize I had to come here to help you with these books. This is important information that people should know so they can prepare better for their journey to the other side. If you prepare, it's always better. I should have known more before I died, but I was quite confused then, so I'm making up for lost time now. So her idea was how much you prepare, you can take with you. It's kind of like the old adage, you can't take your car with you, you can't take your house with you, but anything you do on this side to prepare changes your options when you get to the other side. And just like your personality, if you have an issue here, you have basically that same issue on the other side. It doesn't just go away when you get there. And she is telling us the more you prepare here, the easier it is and the more options you have on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are surprised sometimes when I talk to them and say, for those loved ones or other people, maybe total strangers, who've died and gone to the spiritual plane, they frequently still act through the persona or the psychology face that they had here for this lifetime as being the most recent one. Even if they've had hundreds of other lifetimes, they seem to take the latest one, and that's the one that they interact through. So basically, in some cases, if they're crusty old guys who are kind of unpleasant to be around and cantankerous and that type of thing, when they come through, spiritually, don't expect somebody, stroking the harp and wearing the angel wings. They may be just, I'll just say it, as unpleasant as they were when they were here.
Right. And when they get to the other side, if you're really crusty on this side, when you get to the other side, that you go through a recuperation process that is a little bit longer, usually. Yeah, it's just the way it is. And a lot of people have been taught that heaven is a completely different reality. It's pink, it's pretty, and it can be. It definitely can be. But it's not like a hugely dramatic difference. Well, it's actually quite complicated. There are many ways to describe it. But it's not a destination as much as it is a place to rest in order to recuperate and reflect and decide what you want to do next.
Yeah, it's not unlike people go to spas and retreats and things like that to refresh. If you wanted to use an analogy, it would be the same thing. You go there, it's a place where you can learn and grow and evolve, but primarily it was a place to rest before our next incarnation.
Mm.
So it's not a destination, it's a way station.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask a couple other questions. I want to go back to the Gremlins a little bit. Do you think that imagery is what inspires some of the people who write, I'll just say, horror books about little things that show up in your house, and they've made movies that are kind of scary with little things running around? Do you think that's the inspiration for that? That
Sure.
Some of those writers have felt that or seen it.
Yep. And the more you focus on the negative stuff, the more you can develop it, the more you can call it in. So we're asking people just to be aware of what is and then make choices to clean out rather than call in the negative. But yes, if you're writing a horror flick, you would be focusing on that. And yes, they would be seeing what is if they're looking for it. And there's a lot to see if you start looking.
Sure. Okay. The other question I want to ask you, are you familiar with the term the bardo, sort of out of the Buddhist path? And the bardo is sort of, if you aren't at a high vibrational level when you die and you don't have coaching and things like that, you may end up in a realm where you may think you're objectively seeing dark, scary things around you, but they're actually thought forms that you've created at some level. Does that still make sense to you with the information that came through?
Yep, it does.
Well, it's whatever your belief system is actually will create your reality when you first get over there. If you think you're going to see somebody on a pedestal and cherubs and clouds, then you're going to see that. If you think you want to see loved ones, you'll see that. If you think you're an atheist and you don't know what's there, you may see just darkness for a while. So you create whatever your beliefs are. Now, after a while, those beliefs will fade, and then the true reality comes in where you'll get support. Here's some recuperation, and let's move towards that. And depending how strong those beliefs are, can take a long time to get through those. But then eventually you will, and then you'll start growing and changing and move beyond some of those beliefs. But yeah, it's really whatever you believe now, that's what you create when you get over there.
And there is truth to seeing all those thought forms float around. I know that on a spirit level, for many, many, many years, I've helped people cross over at night while I sleep. It's been one of the jobs that I've taken on. And a lot of people, when they die, they look like little zombies. They are completely out of it. Maybe they've been drugged up in the hospital. And they do need help. And they don't even see those of us who are assisting them. But it's kind of like you want to get them through those thought forms, keep them moving along, and get them through that revolving door to the other side so they can get some recuperation. So there are those of us in the physical who do work at night like that, and then there are also those who assist from the other side who are helping through those things, yes.
And when you said what was an interesting thing that we noticed when writing the book, and one of the things is, the old term, you don't know what you don't know? Well, when you get over there, you don't know it either. And so when we were talking to Ann's mom, Fissy, there were a lot of things we would ask her, like, where's your higher self? And she said, well, I hadn't thought about looking for them. Or where are the teachers if you want to take class? And she said, well, I hadn't thought about that. So another thing that's interesting is when people talk to the people who have passed, the people on the other side actually can grow from that experience, from that communication. Not only do we grow and gain support, but they can grow if you're asking them questions and saying, have you looked here, have you looked there? And the old thing, you don't know what you don't know. So that was interesting, too.
It can be quite dramatic.
I kind of liken that experience to, you end up in or somebody, who's passed ends up in a big dark room, and they can't see anything, and you light a candle, and suddenly they see that there's 8 or 10 doors they could choose from. But when they're sitting there in the dark, they don't have any idea that there's even an opportunity to try something else.
Exactly. Yep.
That's what it's like. And it's the same as, when you go off to school. You don't know mathematics until you start sitting down and paying attention. 2 plus 2 equals 4. You don't think you need to know that, but then you're like, oh, that could be useful. So it's the same in heaven, same.
Well, there was one other area that I want to talk about in the book, and that was the idea of this renegade personalities, and that's beings in the spiritual plane, souls who want to come back here and hang around in our reality, but without the hassle of an incarnation.
Yeah, those can come back as ghosts, and we get hired to clear ghosts out, because basically all a ghost is somebody has died and they left a portion of their energy, a portion that is stuck or obsessed with a place or thing. Usually, they stay in a house thinking they still live there. Or the renegades more are the ones who don't want to bother having a body, reincarnating into a body. They just want to come back and attach to somebody so they can have an experience, and that would usually be around addictions. So if you think you're eating sugar and you can't stop, well, that's probably because there's a little energy attachment that thrives on that. Or liquor. There's a reason that people drink. It's the energy attachment that wants that. And that's why it's so hard to kick an addiction, because it's not just you. You have to recognize, wow, there's this other energy that's sucking off of me, and I need to get rid of them. That has to be my first commitment, and then it's the cleaning up the rest of it. But, yeah, there are more of them than you'd know, and, they're renegades. They are.
I like the term.
Got to deal with them. Yep.
Well, just when you think you know about everything, and then there's another class of being. So that was a surprise for me.
Right.
Well, let's go ahead and tell the listeners, how can they find this book? How can they obtain the book?
Well, the easiest way is to go to Amazon and plug in Journey to Heaven with the last name Salisbury. That's my name, Salisbury, and that should get you there. You can also plug in Meyerhoff, Meyerhoff, or you can go to our website, which is gointuition.com, and we have all 3 of our books there as well. And we would love it for whoever's reading it to write a review on Amazon. That's always fun to read. We very much appreciate that. That's the easiest ways to get it.
And they are e-book as well as physical book.
Yeah, and you can also order it through any bookstore. That's another option.
Okay.
So, yep.
Great. Well, I'll tell the listeners, I've read a lot of books like Life in the World Unseen, read so many of the regression books from Dolores Cannon and Michael Newton and Eric Weiss and others. I find this one very, very readable. I like the conversational tone. I like sort of the laid-back nature of it. So it's because you guys have a personal relationship with her, it has a different flavor to it than most of the other books that I really like. So,
thank you for letting us know. And we've heard that from a lot of people. They say they just can't put it down. It's so fascinating. They just keep reading and reading and reading, and that is unusual, and we're happy that we were able to do that, and that's because of, the stories. It's just absolutely fascinating to follow along with what Fissy's experiencing, and then to hear the advice, the bigger perspective from all that is, so that we can really understand what's going on. It's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, moving to a new area, I've seen something, you've seen it too, I'm sure, and many of the other intuitives I work with, and it seems like a lot of people are going through personal transitions while staying in the physical, and those may be very significant or life-changing. But then there are also a lot of near-death experiences, or NDEs, these days. So what are all these shifts that are happening? I know the energy is moving upwards and changing, but how do you see that and interpret it?
Well, the energy that's coming in from, let's say, the sun is meant to wake people up. To me, it looks like little particles of light, little pinpricks that are coming through the ethers and giving everyone the opportunity to upgrade their system, because we are all connected to Source through our higher selves. We bring through our own vibration of light, particular to us. But that vibration can either get dim when we kind of don't want to pay attention to our own spirit. We just want to focus on ego. It can get dim. Or it can brighten up if we say, oh, I'm intuitive, I can do things like that. So these particles of light, it's kind of like food for the spirit. So it's coming in, feeding us, allowing us to wake up. But if you don't want to wake up, it would feel like you're being force-fed food you don't want to eat. And that's making a lot of people grumpy, agitated, nasty on the freeway, and they're acting out. So it takes a lot to say, yes, I want to upgrade my system. I know it means I'm going to have to look at my own shadow stuff. I know I'm going to have to clean out my closets from my past lives, from my current life, from my emotions, and I'm also going to have to clean out my own physical closets. There's a lot involved. And if you're willing to do that, then you can go light speed ahead, and what's coming in front of us will be easier. But for those who don't want to do that, and even for those of us who do it, there's a bit of a bumpy ride ahead, and it's just the way the planet is organized in the light stream that's coming through. It's kind of like that's just what is right now. So it's just good to acknowledge it and notice there are things you can do. And one of those things is preparing for your transition, because a transition isn't just through death to the other side. It's a transition from darkness within us to more light. And that's the big deal. That's why there are more near-death experiences that are occurring to people. The veil is thinner. The universe is allowing us to experience more, because the goal of the light beings is to say, hey, would you like to wake up? If so, here's some opportunities. And those of us who want to be more light, it's a great opportunity to move ahead. You know, moving ahead is always a challenge. You have to take tests when you go to school, right, to pass to the next grade. It's just the way it is.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but it really feels like the full moons we've been having in 2016 are just highly energetic. And to a certain point, they twang a lot of people. I do see waves of clients showing up with the full moons. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can feel like an agitation. You know, you can say, okay, that's telling me to go do my work, and I'll call Dave and get a session. Or, you know, just, where's the liquor bottle? You know, let me just crawl under the couch. So, yeah. Different ways you can approach it.
Okay. Well, for the listeners, what I'd like to do now, if you're agreeable, Ann, is to have you shift into All That Is and have a little bit of a conversation there.
Sure. I'll just sit back in my chair a little bit. Okay.
Well, welcome, All That Is. Thank you for joining us. So, a term that we use, and we use it rather casually almost these days, but that the planet is rising in vibration. How does that look? How can we talk to people about what that means?
You could see this as a shift in energies a decision that the planet has made to elevate itself and be lighter as a state of being. You could see this like a shadow image of the Earth itself developing, let us say 10 feet up above the Earth's surface. So it is more of an etheric experience. And this allows the Earth to become lighter, more subtle, more filled with love. As time has gone on, you could say that the planet Earth has desired to move ahead. The old ways of being, the negativity that has been experienced here, is coming to a close. The planet Earth no longer desires to experience darkness. It prefers light, and it has made that decision, and that is why you can see it shimmering about, let us say, 10 feet out. That is an approximate measurement to give you an idea that if you focus around the Earth and focus on the lighter vibration, that you can feel that. Does that make sense?
Yes, very much. The obvious question then is, with all of what looks like turmoil on the planet at this point, is this based on people's gut reaction or fears to this lightning and feeling very uncomfortable with that or not knowing how to handle it?
As you have noticed, there are individuals who consider this a time for war. It is like when you are told it is time for a bath when you are little and you instead enjoy your griminess and dirtiness and you just want to play in the mud, and your mother is saying, "Come now, it is time for your bath." You may throw a tantrum. You may say, no, I like it the way I am. I'm just fine. And your mother knows that eventually she will get you in the tub, but it may be with some struggle. That is what is occurring now. The planet...
What a nice metaphor.
Yes. The planet has said it is time. She is no longer willing to observe negativity in its form. She has desired to shift out of that experience. If there are those who desire to remain in darkness, then they have the opportunity to go elsewhere. She is not concerned with that. She knows that she will eventually be cleansed. She will have what she desires because she believes in it, and she knows that if she desires it truly, she will shift out of negativity and experience herself more in light. Those individuals who desire to have that experience with her will shift and grow as well. It is a choice point, you could say. But those who desire darkness, they will be allowed that, just not on planet Earth as you know it now. Does that make sense?
Yes. Can you elaborate on the time frame that we're looking for these shifts and transitions and things like that? I know frequently people get frustrated when they hear soon, where soon could be 1,000 years. We don't know. I just wondered, is this 10 years, 50 years, 3 years? How does it feel?
You will be experiencing this within your lifetime. But you may say to yourself, oh, it is subtle. And that is because if you have chosen the light, you see, then you have awakened each morning saying to yourself, I am love and I love this relationship I have with my home, and my home is planet Earth. Oh, she feels so good to me. Then you see, you just wake up each morning appreciating her more, and she appreciates you back, and you may not notice that anything has changed, for you are on a continuum of love, and it feels good. You may notice that you have not hung out with some of your less positive friends recently, and you may ask yourself, I wonder where they have gone to. I have not seen them recently. And that is because you are vibrating at a level that is uncomfortable for them. So you could say that they have moved out of your realm of experience and are experiencing their own lifestyles that are more appropriate for them. That is how it works.
Okay.
It is more of a separating that is natural. It is like you wake up each morning and you feel the same, but truly, as time goes on, you are older. Are you not? Do you not look in the mirror and say, oh, you know what? Today I am 52, 59, 75, what have you. And you were not that the day before. Does that make sense? It is subtle. Many people are thinking it will be an awakening that is dramatic, and in some cases it will be, for remember, all individuals have their own experiences. And if you need it to be dramatic, it will be. But we suggest that if you take love in your heart and each day appreciate yourself a little more each day, then your transition can be more graceful. That is recommended, you see. It could be easy or it could be hard. It's whatever you like. If you prefer drama, you can create that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, you could be in a situation where the person next to you is experiencing extreme drama and you are simply stepping around it. It could be like someone on the freeway has an accident and you drive by, you see?
Yes.
It is like that.
One of the images I get is going back to like high school biology, where a cell is separating so it can make two cells, and you see the picture of the filaments drawing apart, and that image keeps coming to me as to what is happening here as we have the people going to the higher vibration versus those who don't want to move.
That is exactly correct. All things are reflected in the macro and the micro, remember? So you have seen it and experienced it exactly.
Okay.
It is a pulling apart, like the cells. It is also, you could say, a releasing of skin like a snake would do, releasing the old to come out fresh and new, still the same being, but in a new skin, in a new vibration. And again, it can be subtle. You see, you could blink an eye and the reality could shift and you could wonder, did I see that right? Or it could be more or less significant in the images.
Okay. Now, something else that I see on people, and it seems to be so wide on the planet, so many people who have, they've lost any sense of purpose. And I don't know if this means that they're in a waiting or holding mode for these shifts in energy, or if they're at a density level where they have a hard time even seeing the advantage of something like this coming along and taking advantage of it versus just saying, well, poor me, woe is me, who's going to take care of me, that type of thing.
Well, this loss of purpose is magnificent if you can look at it more deeply. In other words, in order for there to be a shift, there must be a change. Therefore, if you have been going on saying, oh, I have this purpose and it is perfect for me, the likelihood is that your ego is more involved than you want it to be when you are vibrating at a subtler energy. Therefore, if you could let go of your purpose and be okay with that, and then say, I am open to loving myself more and letting my purpose unfold, then you are more prepared for the next generation, let us say, of your experience. It is a good thing. The other thing that is occurring is that the old way of being, where others are there to rescue or save you, and you are the victim, knowingly or unknowingly, that paradigm, you could say, is shifting out because it does not allow for you to be the full creator you need to be in order to vibrate at a subtler level. In order for there to be saviors, there must be victims. But for the creator, there is no need for either, you see. And by victim, we mean in small ways. If you think you need someone to help you carry your groceries, you are saying you are unable to do so. Little things like that. They grow larger and larger. Or you need the government to care for you, or you need your children to look after you, or you need Jesus to be there for you when you arrive in heaven. What if Jesus were in your heart already? What if that Christ light were already a part of you? Then you would need no other to save you, because then you would be saving yourself. That is the primary shift. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it sounds like maybe part of the disconnect we have, the good news may be that we have people who don't have a sense of purpose and they're open to a new one. But the flip side is they've also lost the vision that they're a co-creator, and they aren't getting out there and manifesting, even with that loss of sense of purpose, to develop that sense of purpose as a new creation.
That is all right, you see, because there is a time when the train must come to a halt. If it has been going in one direction, it must come to a stop before it can turn around. If these individuals can see it as simply part of the process, and that they are okay, and that their purpose will be made known to them soon, then they will be better. They must simply trust in themselves, knowing that the light is there for them. That is their light. And truly their purpose is grand. It is to be an experiencer of this realm while they are here, and to be bright and beautiful as who they are. If they can simplify and trust that they have all that they need, then they can make it through. You see, the dark side will enjoy tempting the light by saying, you thought you had a purpose and you do not. That is creating doubt in the light. It is a brilliant move of the dark side, because they would like to dim the world because they consider that to be more comfortable. So if the light can simply realize that and say, oh, look, they're trying to trick me, but I am just going to sit here and enjoy myself knowing that I will get through this, then all will be well. Does that make sense?
Good. Yes, it does.
Good.
Well, I think at this point we're going to have to bring Ann back. Thank you for clarifying so many wonderful things for us. We appreciate your presence.
Sure. That was fun.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we're just about at the point where I need to thank you both for being on tonight's show, but I want to give you a chance to tell us about your 3 books and how people get a hold of you.
Okay. Well, go to gointuition.com. That's our one website. And we also have a school, a hypnotherapy institute, which is transpersonalhypnotherapy.com. You can get there from gointuition.com. And the books are there, are a lot of articles, some free downloads, ways to contact us. Contacting us at info@gointuition.com is the easiest. And our latest
Okay.
book, again, is Journey to Heaven, An Insider's Guide to the Afterlife by Ann Salisbury and Greg Meyerhoff.
Great. Well, thank you again for being on. You guys do such wonderful work, and you're truly lights in the world, and we appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate all that you do, Dave, so thank you for having us on your show.
Yes, thank you very much. This was fun.
Thank you. So, blessings, and good night, and have a wonderful week. Take care. Good night.